Great. Hello, everybody. It's so amazing to see you all, and quite incredible how many people have joined us virtually. I'm just going to start this presentation saying how much I really miss seeing you all in person. And I'm going to just give an update on the Threatened Species Program. I see a lot of new faces, which is incredibly encouraging. So I will tell you exactly what we do, and then just explain some of the things from this year in particular, that work that's been going on. Right, so first slide, if it will move. Come on, there you go. So what we do at SANBI'S Threatened Species Program is like we have three major things that we have to do. The first is that we have to determine, we have to assess. Okay, so our job is to assess and report on the status of species, and we have to determine where species are and what threatens them. Okay, so that's the key thing that we have to know. And so for our plant species, as you know, you all spend time helping us to monitor what plants are where. And then our job is to actually assess how threatened they are and report on the status of those species. And we have the mandate from government, so we report to national government. We also report internationally to the Convention on Biological Diversity. And then the third thing we do is to ensure that the information that we have on species, especially species of conservation concern, so threatened species and rare species, we have to ensure that that information gets to the people who are going to decide what, get to the decision makers that will influence whether those species stay where they are or whether they get developed. So that's what we call influencing land use decision making. And we also influence where protected areas expand to. So those are the three things we do. We have to get constant updated data, and then we have to think of clever ways to do that in a mega diverse country, and we have to report on the status and then influence decisions. Okay, so firstly, how do we determine where species are? So back in 2003, when we started this program, the CREW program, we didn't have fantastic virtual museums and online platforms. And so we started very much by going to the places where threatened plants are concentrated, finding many of you who are still on this call. I'm so excited about seeing people that go back to 2003, Carol and Helene and others. So a lot of you have been here for a long time, been with us for a long time. We set up these groups, and we trained you how to look for plants, and we've continued to manage groups for all these years. So yeah, a long time now, going on 18 years. And we have continued to get incredible data from our CREW network. But we've also realized that we can be more efficient than training up people, one at a time in different places. And so now we make use of the iNaturalist platform, where we get people that we didn't even know were interested in plants posting images. And then we can see, oh, wow, this person is really interested and really keen. And we tell them that they're found species that are interesting, and we bring them into the way we monitor plants. So iNaturalist has now become the platform that we use to monitor plants. And you'll hear a lot about it during the course of the next 3 days. Well, next 2 days at least. Okay, so yeah, just a little bit more on iNaturalist. We've got a lot of different projects, and the wealth of information coming in is quite incredible. I just want to say at this point that we used to, for the next step of our work, when we assess the status of species by doing red listing, we used to depend completely on herbarium specimens, and we no longer do that. We use mostly up-to-date field records that come from iNaturalist. So iNaturalist is really becoming this live, ongoing, snapshot of what's happening in the wild. So it gives us very valuable information. So yeah, what we end up with, and we are interested in the species that are threatened and the species that are rare. So that's not all species, but just the map on the right is showing you a close-up of all our special species for the Angelus Plain area. These little red dots, each one of those is a population of a threatened plant, and we have to make sure that that population persists in the long term. Okay, so how we do that is for each species, we have to do, we have to assess, we have to take that spatial data and we have to then work out, you know, what's going on with it. So I'm just giving you an example here of a threatened plant from KwaZulu-Natal, Brachysteelma modestin. So you can see those little pink dots of what we're getting from iNaturalist and from, you know, crew monitoring over the years. And then we look at where that plant is occurring and what are the threats. So this is near Pietermaritzburg. There's lots of urban development. There's lots of forest plantations. We double check recent information that you've submitted to crew or that's posted on your iNaturalist observations, such as you might have observed specific threats like if there are aliens present, etc. And also, very importantly, just how many plants are in each place. So we take that information and then we apply the red listing criteria that have been developed by the IUCN, the International Union for the Conservation of Nature. There's 5 standardized criteria that we apply, and we come up with a red list status, and the species is vulnerable. Okay, so we do a lot of red listing in the threatened species unit. We have very little capacity, unfortunately. It's myself. I've been doing it for, I don't know, since 2005, I think. We used to have Lisa von Staden. She's, after 12 years of very hard work, asked if she could do something else also. So she's trying to finish her PhD at the moment and working on key biodiversity areas. And Klengiwe, who you see in this picture here, Klengiwe will talk to you, I think, in a few talks' time. She is now our plant red list officer, and she will give you an update of some of the work we've been doing specifically on the Protea family. But just to say, last year we submitted to the IUCN all the Proteas and the aloes, a big, huge project, and you'll see how much work that was from Klengiwe's talk. And then at the moment, we're busy updating the Iridaceae. It's a massive family, over 1,000 species, and high numbers of endemics in South Africa. It's also one of our most threatened plant families in South Africa. So they haven't been updated since our first red list work, which was 2006, 2007. Many of the assessments are very outdated. So we're busy updating those now. Sorry about the hardy dart. And Tamana Patel is a research assistant working on the Iridaceae with us, and we're really grateful to have her assistance. We're also updating these succulents that are under massive pressure from illegal poaching, and particularly the genus Conophytum, which there's 105. And we need to get them onto the IUCN red list so that we can protect them via CITES legislation, because they're being exported and they're being illegally traded to the east. And we need to get, the only way we can stop them and help the enforcement from the east is to have them on CITES. So that work is underway urgently. We're trying to finish the assessments by the end of August. Okay, and then we also have lots of emails, many from you guys, telling us about a species that's either not, that should be on the red list that isn't, or a species that you found so much of it that it really shouldn't be threatened. And so we have over 200 email requests that we're going through and changing the status of at the moment. Okay, and then that last step. So now you're seeing the assessments, and that last step of what we do is feeding the information on each species of conservation concern into the decision-making process. Now, what used to happen is that, I put my video off, I don't know why. Did you put it off? Okay, that's back on.
Yeah, I put it off for bandwidth.
Okay, is it okay? Must I put it off?
Yeah, please keep it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in terms of decision making, what used to happen is that EIAs would depend completely on the specialists to go out and know what plants are supposed to be there, look for them, and then do a specialist impact assessment. And the reality is, with over 11,000 endemic plant species in the country, and more than 5,000 threatened and rare species, no specialist, even the best, could know all the plants that are supposed to be in any one site. And then many specialists were doing an incredibly bad job. Even, they just weren't even trying to look for the threatened species. And we lost population after population of threatened plants. And so we've worked really hard over the last 3 years to get the information of every plant that we have listed as threatened or as restricted range rare species into the EIA system. And what's facilitated this is that the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment has developed an online screening tool that is legislated. So for every development, the developer has to place their footprint, they have to load up their development footprint onto this website, and it queries the information there and produces a report. Should come on now if my screen works. There, this kind of report, and it tells them which special species are there and which threatened ecosystems, etc., are there, and then they have to look for those. So we've done a lot of work to get species information there. This graph on the side shows all the different species that are now in the screening tool, and there's 4,633 plants that are now in there. And there's different colors, very high sensitivity, high, and medium, depends on how restricted they are. So very high is a plant that's only in one place. So that development would actually cause that species to go extinct. So they are essentially no-go areas. The orange is where we absolutely know that the threatened plant is there. There's recent observations of it. And the specialist has to show what work they've done to mitigate the impact on the population. And then the yellow is where we suspect the species might occur, because we don't have brilliant data for all species. And Lise has done the most incredible work of modeling models for each species of where that species might occur. So I just want to acknowledge her work to produce the data that's gone into the screening tool. It's really fantastic. And it's a world first and a complete game changer for conservation. Along with that information, we've also now given very clear guidance on what an EIA specialist has to do at the site that they where the species is found, and exactly how they do their EIA. And this guideline first came out end of last year, and now we've just produced an updated version in July. And it takes them step by step through how to do their EIA. It also tells them exactly how to map all the little habitats and then work out how ecologically sensitive each one is. We've spent a lot of effort to make sure that each specialist has to do exactly the same thing. So we tell them, like, if you've got a critically endangered species, it comes out on a certain conservation importance. We have made these matrices of like how you tell what species should mean what for the EIA. We've also told them how to interpret the condition of the piece of land. So if it's a small fragment and fire processes can't happen there, or there's bad invasives, that gets a functional integrity rating that they have to include in a specific way. So there's a matrix where they combine that information, and so this then gets served to the decision maker. So it has to go into in a standardized way. It has to go into the EIA reports, and then the competent authority who makes the decisions about each EIA gets this very systematic information. And we also have done some interesting useful things, like we have asked that, or we've actually regulated in the regulations that have come out under NEMA, new regulations, that specialists have to load up all special species onto iNaturalist, all the species that they're finding, all the observations, so that there's a very transparent trail of what species occur at that particular development site. And this is important because previously developers were forcing specialists to sign non-disclosure agreements where they weren't allowed to make their specialist reports available. So now we put it into legislation that they have to go into iNaturalist. Okay, and then just to say, we do a little bit of other, quite a lot of other work to conserve plant species. One lovely project that we're working on, you'll hear a bit more about later from Savannah, is on working on medicinal plants. And I led the development of a management plan for 6 medicinal plant species last year. And we worked with 137 healers in this eastern part of Mpumalanga in the Ehlanzeni district. And we really learned a huge amount, and now we're working to implement this plan and also to spread it to get a plan for all medicinal plants nationally, but it will take us a few years. Lwazi Mbongwa, who you can see in the photo here, has helped us a lot with this work, and she's just come onto a 2-year contract with SANBI. And then the other thing we've been working on that you'll hear much more from Ishmael about is responding to this terrible crisis of illegal trade in our succulent plants. The situation is seriously dire. More than 242 species impacted. We find new species being impacted every day, and over 70,000 plants that have been confiscated and are ending up in our botanic gardens and have to be processed and managed. It's a huge challenge. And so our team has been instrumental in working on trying to find solutions and bringing stakeholders together. And we had a first workshop in June and have developed priority list of actions that need to happen with role players and stakeholders and who has to do what. But it's a serious crisis and we're not managing it yet, but at least we've got a plan on what we can be doing. And the Leslie and Succulent Crew, Leslie Hill Trust is helping to fund it. Okay, and I think that's all for me. And then to say my major highlight for this year, my personal major highlight is that I have joined the OTRAMS crew group. And that is the special moment of being with them when they got to their 100,000 observations. Thanks.